Well, it is about time that we have finally got the first episode of Technoid, and I am nervous as all hell because this video can go two ways. It could be the best episode we've done or the worst looking one we've done. And if I'm being honest here, people, I think I'm giving off more of a bum aesthetic than a tech show host. I think it works out either way. Yeah, let's start this. Alrighty, the first story, the main story of the day, let's start it up with the iPhone 15 Ultra. Now, of course, you guys knew that coming back, I was gonna have to pick a story that was going to entice, and what better story than there to get some money? Okay, fine, not really that, but let's just be honest, if we're gonna start a story off, it's gotta be the iPhone. But there have been a lot of new stuff coming out about the iPhone 15 Ultra since I last covered it, and there's a lot of things we have to go over in such a small amount of time, so let's not waste any time, let's get right to it. First thing to talk about is, of course, the new design. Now, as you know, it will be pulling inspiration from the Apple Watch Ultra with the titanium bezels, the borders, but talking about the bezels for just a moment, that is actually where we get our first new design, and that is Apple will be decreasing the bezels and making them thinner than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, we already know how thin the bezels are on the iPhone. I honestly think that the bezels on the iPhone can pretty much get away with it, but the fact that they want to make them even more thinner, giving more screen, is honestly very tempting from a display's perspective. So it would be interesting to see how thinner they get, because I mean, how much more thinner can you get? At that point, you're pretty much pushing Samsung territory. I mean, I'm not lying here, they're almost about to go into curve territory. But moving past that, we also hear reports that the Dynamic Island will also see a new refresh, mostly with software integration for the iPhone 15 Ultra. But lastly, the last one to talk about is the USB-C port on the iPhone 15 Ultra. Now, there are reports saying that all iPhone 15 models will be receiving USB-C and that the cheaper iPhones are going to be receiving the Dynamic Island. Now, that is good news, but in regards to the USB-C port, that is where we get a lot of our discussion. So Thunderbolt 2, as you guys know, the protocol on the iPhones now, that is going to be the profile for the USB-C port on the iPhone 15, whereas the iPhone 15 Ultra will use Thunderbolt 4. So that I can understand because the Ultra does seem to be the more premium and higher end iPhone, and generally speaking, most people are not even going to care what model or profile of Thunderbolt they're getting. But then there's a little crack in the story. So then they talk about that because Apple is making this USB-C, they want to have some type of control, and it seems that they may be locking in the USB-C cable temporarily for the beginning to Apple certified USB-C cables. I don't know exactly how accurate that story is, but it does sound like an Apple move, and when Apple makes moves, it always pisses people off. So all I'm gonna say on that one is I would hold off reservation before making any assumptions, but I wanted to throw that in there because if that is true, that Apple locks in the USB-C support and not allowing it to use Android cables, that is going to be a huge upfiring from the community, not just the Android fans, but from the Apple fans, because you're basically locking them in to their cables only. Now, to be fair, Apple has started making braided cables and they're a lot more durable, but let's be real here. I want to go with Anchor all day, any day. I'm just saying. And then to round it all off, the iPhone 15 Ultra will start at $1199. Now, taking all of this in and giving it to you guys on a silver platter, the iPhone 15 Ultra is looking to be like a very solid and incredible phone that Apple has made in a long time. And I think we can all agree that we need an iPhone of this caliber. The 14 Pro and Pro Max were great. I have no complaints about them. But just knowing that they're going to make this one more premium, more of the device that I think we all want, that is more of a saving grace for me, and I am absolutely all in favor of that. I have nothing bad to say about that whatsoever. The Thunderbolt profile, I think people are not going to care anyway, just like they don't care that Wi-Fi 4E is in the HomePod or Bluetooth 5, because nobody really cares about that. But to tech-savvy people, it will mean a lot. So I'm gonna round off this by finishing up with this last thing we're gonna say, and then we're gonna move on to the Mac Studio. If the iPhone 15 Ultra is limited though with the USB-C, that will be the biggest negative out of the box, but maybe they'll open it up later, who knows? But I will definitely keep you guys up to date and let you know what we hear going forward. Alrighty, the next story, the next one to talk about is the Mac Studio. Now, this report has been out for about a week. I wanted to cover this sooner, but again, just kind of making this all work out. But to summarize, the new Mac Studio is looking to be not new anymore. It seems that Apple is going to forego the Mac Studio in favor of the new Mac Pro coming out very soon. Now, the main reason that it seems that they want to do this is to help avoid the comparisons between the two machines. But I think the biggest comparison we know is that Mac Pro dollar money versus the Mac Studio money. The Mac Pro is expensive. It is expensive, and even though it's very powerful, it is not a machine that the average person would want to use. That is made for a specific amount of people that can handle that kind of power. The Mac Studio, on the other hand, is a good device that can do the job for content creators like myself. I don't have a Mac Studio, but I would have liked to have bought it if it had the updated M2 Max. But it does the job well and it doesn't break the bank. And if it is true that Apple is not going to refresh the Mac Studio for a year and waiting till the M3 or the M4 model, that is a huge, huge mistake in my opinion. And I would really hope that they don't do that, because if they did go that route, it is a sad, sad, sad day for anybody that likes the Mac Studio, because I think it's one of the best Macs that they've made, and I would love to see it get continued for the long term. That's just me. And last story, the final story before we wrap up this episode, is the Studio Display. Now, as you guys know, the Studio Display is in a little bit of a refresh, whereas Apple is looking to try and upgrade this new display for new customers. Well, it seems that we are going to get a new display. Where it replaces which model, we don't know, but it seems that this one will have ProMotion. It will be using mini LEDs. It will be 27 inches, and it'll probably be costing a little bit more than the regular Studio Display that recently came out, and it will have a better display overall. Now, this is something that a lot of people have wanted, and I can definitely see a lot of users getting this display, because even though the Mac Studio and the Studio Display are very well, if you're a content creator and you're using those machines, you want a better display at 120 Hertz, but you also want a display that just does the job very well. So all I really have to say on this story before we wrap up today's episode is that I absolutely would love to see a new Studio Display, especially with 120 Hertz, but we'll see about the pricing. But if you know anything about Apple, it's not going to be cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Am I right? And that's it for today's episode of Technoid. Now, guys, it is great to be back. It is great to be behind the camera again. I am looking forward to a great year with all of you. I am looking forward to making videos again. If you enjoyed today's episode, if you have anything you want to say, make sure to hit the like button, share your opinions in the comment section. If you dislike the video, you can still hit that dislike button. It helps circulate my videos as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. It is great to be back. Be patient though, guys. I'm still getting accustomed to these new lights, setups, the camera, and I think the camera's making me look uglier anyway. It's got a lot more detail in those shots. But thank you guys so much once again. I promise you guys, once we iron out the bugs, everything will look very, very good. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your continued support as always. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next episode, and peace.